All right, Salman Sarfati covering this on the Hill for us. Thank you so much. And I want to bring in our guest now. We have Steve Rogers. He's a member of the advisory board for Donald Trump's presidential campaign. Chris Liu is a former assistant to President Obama and a former deputy secretary of labor. And Shermichael Singleton is a Republican strategist. Okay, Shermichael, the White House did not deny this report. The president he's sort of tried to cloud exactly who he said what about, but it's not really exactly a denial. He said the language used by me at the DACA meeting was tough, but this was not the language used. What was really tough was the outlandish proposal made, a big setback for DACA. Never said anything derogatory about Haitians other than Haiti is obviously a very poor and troubled country. Never said take them out. Made up by Dems. I have a wonderful relationship with Haitians. Probably should record future meetings. Unfortunately, no trust. What do you make of his tweets?
Yeah, that's not a complete denial. I mean, I'm a Republican. I've always been a Republican, and I have to be honest with you, I'm embarrassed. This is the party of Abraham Lincoln, and I have to ask myself, how in the world have we come so late and lonely to this place? I have seen many arguments proposed by individuals who support the president. It's about being politically correct, etc. You can be a straight shooter without offending people. I don't expect, or Republicans shouldn't expect people to just acquiesce and go along with the president just because he is a Republican. I support tax reform, okay? I support wanting to better health care. I support securing our border. But there is no way in the world I can support a president who continues to be divisive, who continues to divide the country. The president, Brianna, should speak not just to the Republicans, he should speak to the whole country. He should speak so much so that every individual in this country feels so inspired to be better than where they found themselves prior to. And I cannot say that President Trump is doing that.
Steve, as a supporter of President Trump's, can you react to those sentiments?
Well, to begin with, to characterize the President of the United States as a racist over this issue is unfair. It's as unfair as characterizing Nancy Pelosi, who last night stated that those 5 white guys in that room are talking about immigration. My point is this. A lot is being said.
Okay, Steve, I'm going to stop you there. Let's talk about the Central Park 5. Let's talk about him talking about the fine people on both sides in Charlottesville.
Look, Brianna,
let's talk about Pocahontas, which
Brianna,
is...
I expected this.
No, it's not. This is not old news.
This one. Yes,
Elizabeth Warren, the travel ban, all the way back to his campaign announcements.
You pivoted away from Nancy Pelosi. You see, this is the point.
Give me 5 examples of her. I don't think that was appropriate, what she said, but give me 5, 6 examples of what she said that fits that same thing.
Look, there's a lot of things, and I wish I had the list here, but I want to get back to what you asked about Donald Trump. First of all, he was talking about conditions on the ground there. I don't see people running to these countries. They're running away from those countries, not because of the people. They're fine people. He has said that. Even Omarosa, who would have a bone to pick with the president, says he's not a racist. We're sending billions of dollars of foreign aid there under his administration. We've got military there fighting terrorism. We've got people on the ground bringing a lot of health aid to those countries. So the fact of the matter is, there's a lot being said, and you're going to see Democrats say, yeah, he said this or that. I really believe that he was talking about conditions on the ground. And to tell you the truth, I've said things about cities in this country.
Wait, you believe he was talking to who?
Oh, I believe that he was telling the truth. He's telling the truth when he's addressing issues on the ground. He's not talking about the people, for goodness sakes. He's hired Haitians. He's hired people of all ethnicities.
And that
with
makes
his companies
it okay?
over the years. Makes what okay?
To talk like that.
He didn't. He did not. He said he did not use that language. Okay, I believe him. Look. I really have a lot of mistrust, as most of America does, and look at your polls for the U.S. Congress and for the media, all right? The man has a history, all right, of being a great businessman. He's worked hard, good kids. It's a shame that we focus on these negative issues and not on some of the positive. And I just proved the point. As soon as I brought Nancy Pelosi up, you defended her. All right? That was outrageous.
No, I didn't. I mean, actually,
said.
I disagree with you because I said I didn't agree with what she had said. I didn't think it was cool. Chris, your reaction.
Well, look, the comments are abhorrent. It's very clear, based on the instance you flagged, as well as the president's conduct over the past year, that he has no sensitivity to racial issues. I think to call him a racist is perfectly fair. But I think let's get to the central issue, which is immigration reform. That's what they were talking about. And these senators were very close to a deal that could have helped 700,000 people and started to clean up a very messed up system. And the president's words may have derailed that by forcing both sides to their corners. You know, I worked for Barack Obama in 2005 when he was in the U.S. Senate, and we were trying to get an immigration deal done. For the last 12 years, we've been pushing on this issue, and we've gotten pretty close. And I'm concerned that these incendiary remarks force us back to square one again.
What do you say, Shermichael, when you talk to people, and I'm assuming you talk to people who support Donald Trump, who don't support Donald Trump, how do you make sense of this kind of discussion that he had?
I mean, I think a lot of people are willing, for reasons that in many cases are dumbfounded to me, to allow these types of remarks to go excused. I think that's why you have seen reporting from CNN, our very own reporters that have stated people at the White House are saying, oh, this is a good thing, because it will play well with the base. As I stated earlier, when you are the president, you are not just the president to the people who voted for you. You are the president for the entire country. And if you are incapable of recognizing that, if you are incapable in speaking for and to all of us, you have absolutely no business whatsoever in that position. This has nothing to do about whether Donald Trump passed policies that are conservative or not. This is a matter of decency. This is a matter of character. And in my view, Donald Trump fails on those points.
One of the issues, Chris, appears to be this habit of saying things like this. This isn't happening. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Just, I think it was 3 weeks ago. Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago, December 23rd. Take a look at what the New York Times reported Trump is saying about Haitians. They all have AIDS. This is what he grumbled, according to one person who attended a meeting and another person who was briefed about it by a different person who was there. And then 40,000 people had come from Nigeria. Mr. Trump added, once they had seen the United States, they would never go back to their huts in Africa, recalled the two officials who asked for anonymity to discuss a sensitive conversation in the Oval Office. I mean, he is talking about the people here. They all have AIDS.
Look, this is not the way the leader of the free world should speak. It's not the way that any responsible parent should speak when they're setting an example to their children. And the irony of all this is that the president very shortly is going to sign a proclamation on Martin Luther King. Dr. King did not just fight for the rights of African Americans. He fought for people of all race, regardless of their country of origin. And if I were the president today, I might just quietly sign that proclamation without any press there, do his physical, and get to Florida. Anything he does at this point just adds fuel to the fire.
Brianna, yes, thank you. I'd like to make a couple of points. One is his economic packages, his tax relief packages is helping all Americans, no matter what race, color, or creed. So that's one thing. But getting back to this issue of the sources at the White House you just mentioned, you know, I've been in law enforcement my whole life, and I always dealt with evidence and facts. And when I hear sources and who wants to be anonymous, I really don't take too much of those into consideration as being credible until they come forward. If these people are so strongly feel about this and so convicted about this, they should tell us who they are. Let them face their, you know, accuser. People who are accused have a right to face their accuser. And I think there's just too much being said by Mr. and Mrs. Anonymous and sources. Come forward. Look, I'm brave enough. You're brave enough. You got two fine gentlemen.
We just ran Dick Durbin as a source, but
not
yeah.
even Dick Durbin. I mean, Steve, there are Republican senators who were there who heard what the president had to say. So I get you don't want to admit the anonymous sources. Okay, fair enough. Let's say that they're lies. What about the Republican senators who said we heard the exact same thing as the Democratic senators? You're going to deny them as well?
Listen. Here's my point. And look, you guys are great. I mean, you're articulating your position very fine, and I appreciate that. My point is that I think everybody has to settle down, bring the temperature down, and let's get to evidence and facts. Evidence and facts. And we're not hearing much of that. And I didn't hear these senators.
Facts are the president has used divisive rhetoric, Steve. That cannot be denied. That is a fact.
And we're going to have to leave it there, gentlemen. Steve,
it was a
Shermichael, Chris, thank you so much to all of you for being with me today. And just ahead, with the president speaking.